This podcast is brought to you by Steede Motor Group, Claregalway. For your personalised vehicle shopping experience, find out more at steedemotorgroup.ie.
So delighted now to be joined by Gort senior hurler Craig Lally and former Galway hurler Kevin Brady to look ahead of what we have in the last eight of the senior hurling championship, the last four in the senior B championship, and the last eight as well in intermediate and relegation playoffs to be played as well this weekend for some teams. So it'll be about survival for all of them, but really it's about the business end of the championship now. How do you look at this weekend now, Craig, given that I suppose you were just one game away from getting to the quarterfinal?
Yeah, look, on our own perspective, it's annoying, really, I suppose. And considering we had a good old year, considering the group we come out of was a tough group, two of the four still left there in quarterfinals this weekend. So we just underperformed the last day, and that was the most disappointing thing. You don't mind going out and playing well and losing, but playing poorly and losing is a different story, and that's probably the hardest thing to take from it all. And you're looking ahead to the weekend, even though I'm saying that, like there's eight cracking teams left in it, and it's going to be four great matches. But at the same time, it's better to be in the business end than you're looking on. That's for sure. But yeah, look at it. Like, in all fairness, Castlegar were well due their crust the last day. They were very good against us, and when they got the chances for goals, they took them, and we didn't. And that was the winning and losing of the game, really. Like, and that's why, like, we get into more, I suppose, as we go on. But like, they've three or four deadly forwards there that when they got the chances against us, Liam Collins, Jan, and Sean Collins, or Mike Collins, that's why I suppose we get into later on in the podcast that they will be a match for anybody, and what bigger team than Thomas is the next day. So yeah, just it's disappointing. I was just chatting there before we come on here. We're very young, and for us overall, I suppose, considering the group we got, to stay up in Senior A was definitely a plus. But at the same time, when you get into positions of being in a preliminary quarter final, they're there for winning. Like, so, there was no way in our head going into that match against Captag the last, and we were thinking that we were happy with our year. We wanted to stay going as far as we could. Like, so, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But we could regroup, get the younger lads in the gym over the winter, and try and build them up and go again next year.
Do you feel the Turlough game in Kenny Park kickstart your season? Because it's something we were kind of referencing on the podcast where it wasn't going well for you. Turlough looked like they were just like had an answer every time, 15-11 up. But do you feel that moment in those last few minutes that kind of kick-started something in the group?
Yeah, definitely, and especially the younger fellas. Like we really have, like, we've a real split in the group. Like, where that day against Turloughmore, Jason Dunhu, the cornerback, he was the eldest of the backs at 21 years of age. He had nine lads younger than him starting on the team. So there was the five lads older, like Jack Grealish is one of the oldest lads in the team, and he's 26. So it was a coming of age for a lot of them young lads, especially the lads that are 20 years of age. It's the third year in the panel. It was a real, like, the last couple of years we've really just been in Senior B and messing with Senior A, whereas that was a real tough upcoming against one of the top four teams in Galway. And to get the draw was brilliant, like, especially under the circumstances, the weather, the way we were 4 points down, we got 1-1 in injury time to get it. And it just gave the lads massive confidence, the younger lads in particular. I don't know, because I wasn't playing, was that better for them, I'd say, because they didn't have to listen to me giving out. But no, like, definitely it was brilliant for them, and it gave them the kick they wanted. And we had a slow start against Portumna in the next game, but I think the confidence that they gained against Turloughmore drove them on. That it didn't really make a difference that we went 5-6 points down against Portumna. We always knew we could come back, and we ended up going on and winning the game by 14 or 15 points. And like, even those flashes against Thomas's in the first day as well, like, and it goes down to the goals against, like, the Captag game, goals win matches, like, and it happened us against Thomas's where we played well in patches, like we went up against Thomas's and then we conceded a goal and then conceded a second goal, and you're just chasing in after that. And it was the same the last day against Captag, like, we brought it back to 2 points, 1-9 to 1-7 just before half time. Next thing, conceded the second goal and you're chasing the game again. That's, I suppose, that's something the young lads will learn in time as well. That you can't be conceding goals, especially against really good teams that they'll dominate you. So, but to come back to the Turlough game, yeah, it was massive. Like, Turloughmore have been knocking on the door for a long time. They've probably underachieved as well for what they are, with all the players they have. And they'll admit that themselves. A lot of the lads, like, I've been involved in county panels with them Turloughmore lads, and there's been 7, 8, 9 of them in county panels back in 16, 17 there. Like, they're just so much talent. So to get that draw against them, it was massive for us. Like, and you could see coming off the pitch that day, it was like a win for us. Like, whereas they were just waiting to go into the dressing room to get it, that sort of way. So, yeah, it kickstarted off our year, but look at it only kickstarted it off with 2 more matches, and I suppose where it was good for the young lads to come on, they still have to learn that there's no medals out of quarterfinals or preliminary quarterfinals. Do you know what I mean? So it's 2 or 3 years of building up and aiming to get back to where we were and get into county semi-finals and county finals and be competing again.
How do you find playing in the forwards?
I get asked that question a good bit this year, and I'm sure Kevin will be able to vouch me on this one. It's nice to be running away from a fella instead of running after him, so it is all right. But it wasn't great running after lads in my time in centre back, but yeah, look at it. It's different. It's definitely different, and it takes time to get used to, making the right runs at the right time and not making a fool of yourself. I found myself this year now in a few times where you could be running around for 20 minutes and you might get a ball and you're like, am I doing the right thing here at all? Or a centre back, you'd always get on a few balls, or you get yourself on balls, or Kevin hitting me a short puck out and you be in the game. But yeah, it's different. I don't know. Is that the way the groove of a lad's age goes when you go from the backs to the forwards, and
it is.
You get to 16 or 17 on your back? So, but no, look at, I suppose we've an awful number more younger backs coming through than we have forwards. So it was an easy enough integration when I didn't really have many numbers in my back in the backs.
Just a bit before we get into action, Craig, and bring Kevin in here. Overall, do you take it as a good year, or do you take it as a year with some regrets?
No, but look, it was a good positive year overall. Considering I said to you, the last couple of years we've had, we played in our last county final in 2017. We had a bad couple of years after that for 2 or 3 years. We got through to county semi-final with Matt 2 years ago. Last year was a disappointment. This year again, now we've brought on 2 or 3 great young lads. Ben Donovan there, wing back, has been a great find for us. We've Dylan Murphy, Matt's grandchild. He's come on for us there, corner forward in a few games. We've also brought on 2 or 3 other 17, 18-year-olds to add to the 20, 21-year-olds that we've had. So overall, it's been very positive. Disappointed in the performance the last day against Castlegar. I don't think there's that much of a difference between us, but at the same time, overall, the bigger perspective, yeah, we're happy, I suppose.
Kevin, this weekend we have the last 4, or the last 8, as I mentioned, in senior, and the last 8 in intermediate. It's interesting now this weekend because we're going to, I suppose, have some teams coming in a momentum, and then you have the teams that top the group. And I suppose the question won't be answered until after the quarterfinals are over. Was that break good for a team, or maybe was it something that they didn't need?
Yeah, it's true, Shocks. Pros and cons to both sides, but it's a clean slate now this weekend. It's knockout hurling. It's going to be a bad weekend, bad week coming. There's going to be a big breeze in Pearse Stadium where the two double headers are. I hate playing in it. I've always said it. It's a game of 2 halves. It's like an old cliche, It's there's a gale blowing in over the sea at all times, There'll be 2 cracking games. I'm looking forward to it. I'll go into the ones on Saturday. I won't on Sunday. The refereeing has a lot to do with this weekend, Shocks. I really hope the games are let flow, because we were talking last week or 2 weeks ago, myself, yourself, and Cyril, and there's an awful lot of frees being given, and that's no disrespect to referees. A great respect for them, but they're trying to do their job, but they're trying to keep the letter of the law just perfect. And above any other county, I believe it's catching at the county level then, because frees are given for absolutely everything. Free takers, between Niall and there, and your own Richie Cummins there, and Farher. They're shooting the lights out. And I just hope they let the game flow this weekend now and have 4 cracking games.
It's something we've mentioned, Kevin, since you've been on the podcast during the club championship, knockout hurling. What's knockout hurling like now in the build up to last 8, where simply you're going to be in for a battle?
Oh, it's just an animal of a week, like it. It's Lally tell you there himself. It's just the total mentality changes within the club, within the ethos of the group. It's all right for the likes of Tommy's and these guys who have been there year after year. They know how to prime their run. But we'd say for the likes of Castlegar there now, or even Turloughmore, or even More this weekend, who haven't been there quite a lot. It's not nervous ground, but it's exciting times. This is all bonus territory for them. They'll all want to win it. I don't think anybody's going to fear anybody. I think they're 4 great games. No one really wanted to get Tommy's, the truth be told, but I think Turlough and Cashel is going to be a cracker. Or more from me are the team of the year so far.
You're surely taking credit if Castlegar pull it off this weekend now, Kevin.
I was talking to Farrer there. We're good old buddies. I was chatting there. We were actually golfing a few weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, myself and himself and Finnerty and his uncle. And I hadn't really, and I say on a podcast or anything to anybody, it is what it is. Ger doesn't question it. I don't say it to upset anybody, but I just say it as it is. And Finnerty being Finnerty, he just said, how did you take what Brady said, Farrer? Well, he says, to be honest with you, he said, Pete, he said, what he said was right, but the lads were shocked that it came from him because it's such respect for him. Well, I said, it worked, didn't it? Like, they were down against Arzahan that weekend and got beaten. And Ger actually said it to them at half time. He said, listen, lads, whether you like it or not, he said, Brady is right. He said, the bit is not between your teeth, we're soft. And they just got back into training after that Arzahan game, and I'm sure they were throwing a few darts at my face. They're going well. They're going well. They seem to have. I just hope and pray this weekend that they go man for man and don't put out a sweeper. It's a hiding to nothing. Go for it. You know, they put out a sweeper against Crowell and conceded 4 goals, and when they pulled them out of it, they actually went on to win the game. So, like, Turlough are no world beaters up front either. So I just hope that they don't put a sweeper system and have a real cut of it.
Greg, just before we get into Turlough and Cashel, because it's the first game up in the last 8 this weekend, just for what Kevin was saying there about knockout hurdle and all this, is it hard now as a player not to be thinking about a game like this in the lead up?
As Kevin said there, I suppose a lot of the teams that are left there, they've been in position a lot over the last couple of years. Like Turloughmore, Castlegar, Turloughmore, Tom is obviously, Castlegar have been there a good few times, Clarinbridge are there, Loughrea there, or Sarsfields are there. I suppose the real new ones, I suppose, two of the Turloughmore and Castlegar haven't been there in a couple of years in this phase. But like there's a lot of them Castlegar, as the older heads like Ger, Dean, all that crew, they be well used to it. So they take it in their stride, but I suppose the younger fellas are right. It's not called hurling though. That's what it is. It's what it's about. Like I definitely agree with Kevin was saying there about Ormore. Like I've seen them. They've played out in our pitch there. They play Climerdale out in our pitch. They're the last round, and while Burke went off injured, their main man after 15 minutes, and the young lads just stood up to play it and really like what I see with them. Like so, I don't think they'll fare knockout hurling either. There's nothing to lose anyway. Like that, like the Ormore have nothing to lose. They're in bonus territory, I suppose, the way it is. But that's what we'll be saying about them. But they won't be saying it themselves. Like they've big notions, and rightly so. They're building something really well there. Like, and even the run rate structure coming through. Friendly enough there. One of the lads is involved with under 15 teams and under 15 team. Like they're competing in A finals and winning left, right, and centre. They're all the way up from under 12 to minor. So this isn't a surprise or anything like that. And they're going to be a big force in Galway hurling. But the rest of the teams are well used to knockout hurling now at this stage. Like if you look at the likes of Clarinbridge, Loughrea, Thomas's, and Turloughmore, sure they're competing in the semi-finals and finals for the last how many years in a row. So as Kevin said, they have their run timed, a lot of them perfectly, especially the lads that have had the 4-week break. So even though I know what Thomas is in them, like sure, they're running at 15. Like they brought on no sub against us in the first round. Do you know what I mean? They played with the 15, finished with the 15. I was at the second round against Portumna. He was just back from America. I think brought him on with 10 minutes to go. He was the only sub that come on. And I think in the third round, they might have brought on that young Farrell, the under 20 lad, along with the lads. So, like, they're timing it perfect there now. I think Bernard's back training. Keane is obviously back doing a good bit of training. So, like, they're well used to this, like, as are a lot of teams. I know Clarinbridge are probably playing an extra game than their youths and heard it more, but they'll be fine. There'll be no worry with them knockout stages.
So just the first game on Saturday, lads, it's Castlegar and Turloughmore, 2:30 in Pearse Stadium. Kevin, from being a previous Castlegar player, I know the clubs aren't right on top of each other, but there still is a close proximity because there's not much hurling clubs between the distance of Castlegar and Turloughmore. Would both clubs consider this a bit of a derby?
Oh yeah, it was always a derby between Cashel and Turlough and Cashel and Mellows, Cashel and more Cashel and Mellows, but Cashel and Turlough would have been the next one really. And all of the years I played, I think they only ever beat us once. We always seemed to get the better of them, we never feared them. They were tough, teak tough, very physical. I suppose the game has changed now. I was 15 years with Castlegar and 7 years gone out of it now. But it's going to be a cracking game. If it comes down to freeze, Castle will win it. And as far as shoot from anywhere with 100 yards with that freeze. Connor Walsh, good free taker as well. Now I know Cashel have the full back line has been injured most of the year. Teagle there and what's the other guy?
Maggie Holly.
Yeah. But Joe reckons they're back training. They're not far off it, But to throw a guy in a quarter-final stage is, it's a dangerous thing to do. Greg knows more than anybody. Like, if you put a young guy in a real championship hurling, the guys are buzzing and hopping for the first 5 minutes tells a lot. I wouldn't be starting them. I'd be going what they had the last day. Now the talks of Sean Loftus back training with Turlough. Like he broke his collar.
Huge boost there if he's back.
Huge boost, like I know a lot of them, and I wouldn't go fishing for information because they tell you lies anyways up there. No more to But listen, that's all the mind games. It's what makes the GA great, isn't it? Will he, won't he? Will he tog out? Will David Burke be togged on the line for Thomas's? All of these kind of predictions. So he'd be a huge thing. But in saying that, if Sean Loftus does play and they need him, which I think they will, like coming in with a broken collarbone, the great Gerlach Nan thing when Shawnee McMahon had his broken shoulder on the left, he strapped his right. So, like, the first thing you're going to be doing when you meet him coming on, like, is, happy Saturday, and here's a shoulder for you. and it's all within the limits. Like, Lally's done it plenty of times.
I was going to say, if you were still playing for Castlegar, be the opposite shoulder anyway, that's for sure.
That's it. That's the way the game is. It's tough, it's fair. There's no malice in it, but at the same time, it's cutthroat stuff this weekend now. So it's going to be a cracker.
You obviously played Turlough, Craig, and it's a good point there Kevin makes about Castlegar's sweeper system. They obviously laid on that Crowell game. They just had to go man on man to Brock Craig Thomas deep, and they started winning ball and just going direct at Crowell. But for Cashel, if they do play the sweeper, are Turlough just one of these sides who have the quality and the ball players just to completely bypass the sweeper system?
Yeah, they would have a right, yeah. They definitely have the talent in the squad, 100%. I didn't hear that about Lofty, about Lofty becoming close to come back, but what I've seen over the last 2-3 years since Lofty went to centre forward for Turloughmore, he's been their best hurler. So if he's back in contention of playing, that is a serious plus for Turloughmore. She's like something they're lacking is the return they get out of the forwards, and Lofty was by far the best at that in returns. Like, he was scoring 5-6 points from play. He was a free taker. So that's a big plus for them. Like Castlegar, when they played the sweeper against Crowell, they actually conceded goals. So I don't know why they played that system. Like, they were very good when they went direct when they 15-15 against Crowell. So I'd start off that straight away. Now, as Kevin said there a few minutes ago about the stadium, the hate games on the stadium, I don't feel right about 4 quarter-finals inside the stadium. It just doesn't feel right. Like, yeah, it's fine for a county final, but geez, like, you're probably going to have 2 semi-finals in there now as well. And I know this pitch is closed, and that's probably unavoidable, like, and all that. And Rise obviously a big loss for the likes of that. But it's going to suit teams an awful lot more. Like I know they're playing each other, but I know I've played Captagan and Thomas in the last 2 or 3 years there. It suits them. Like, they're very good at playing that space. And Turloughmore will be like that now as well. Whereas I know Castlegar, when they played Sarsfields in the second game down in Athenry really suited Castlegar, so it did. And they're physical, they're well able to mix it. So yeah, Turloughmore very good at that 10-15 yard passes, like Dahi, Connor Walsh, Sean Linan, these guys can mix it around. Kevin Hussey came back on the last day for 25 minutes, 30 minutes. He's a big part to play. Lofty gets plays, Daniel Loftus, all well able to hurl. Like, so look at, I think it's going to be very physical. I think Castlegar bring the physical side of things to it. Can Turloughmore match that physical side of things? I don't know. Castlegar have the big men to do it. So it'll be as long as they're in their face straight from the get-go. But if they do concede like they did against Crowell, they won't. Turloughmore won't forgive them like Crowell did, and that's for sure. So they need to stay touch tight all the way like they did against Sarsfields.
Is there question marks over both full back lines of like both full forward lines? Like when you look at Castle, you've had Oisin Connolly, Jack Coyne, Killian Callahan, and you look at Turlough, like who are they going to put in there? But there's obviously a few injury doubts in that Castlegar full back line. Is there certain question marks over maybe this Turlough and Castlegar full back line? And is it really, Kevin, about which full forward line can get on top?
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, like with a breeze that you'll have in Pearse Stadium, sometimes goals are not a big thing in Pearse Stadium. It bypasses a lot of full back lines. Like Ronan Burke is having a massive year now.
Yeah.
He's really stepped up, and he just seems to have his mojo back in there. You know, with Dahi, Ronan is sort of the kind of guy. You know, Ari, I won't play senior this year. I'll go down intermediate. You know, but he's really nailed his colours to the mast this year. You know, he seems happy there. You know, with Dahi outside him. I just don't think there's too many goals to be given away within that Turlough full back line. I just hope and pray that Cash will go man for man, because physically, as Greg said, they're a bigger unit than them. You know, you've Farrer there, you've Donald Barry, you've Cahill Mulrine, Cahill Ryan, you know, you've Dean Higgins, you've Teagle if he's back, a Warrior, with the two Thomases. These are tough guys. Now, Turlough are as well. But I just feel that Turlough might have a small bit too much for them. I hope and pray that Cash will win it, and that's coming from a next Cashel player. But
why do you think Turlough will have too much?
I just think they're like, go back to the start of the year, like the Arddrahan game, Cashel were poor. Okay, I expected that. They're a kind of a club that starts slow, and they improved as the year went on. They were happy enough to beat, or good enough to beat Sarsfields, you know, but it's a very hard one to call shots. It's like they've really answered the critics, if that's the way you want to put it. They've smartened their setup up. But I just think Turlough have way too much for them. I just do. They have county players all over the field. You know, they use the ball very well. Now, in saying that, Turlough haven't been the same team since Gart, as good as did beat them in Pearse at the night that evening. You know, I was at that game, and it was a horrible game. You know, but like that was the turning point for Gart that year. I'll tell you that. But Turlough seemed to be on a dip after that. They have to up their game now. I seen them against Mike Cullen the last day. They were only 11 points to 6 up at halftime against a very average Mike Cullen team. Now, we did say that Mike Cullen will bring the physical side of it, the fitness side of it, which they did. But in all fairness, like if you're county champions, and to be thinking like that, you'd want to be blowing the likes of these guys out of the water. So it's very evenly matched shots, but I just think that Turlough have a bit too much for them, as in class, as in players. But I just hope and pray that Cash will win it.
Is Gerard someone you need to put on the edge of the square, Craig? Because obviously Turlough are going to want Dahi obviously to go on him and man mark him. But when you think of Dahi, what he's brought going forward this year to Turlough, is it just get Farrer on that edge of the square?
I don't think so. No, I think he's better off floating out around the middle of the field, floating centre forward. Like as Kevin said, like he'll strike a ball over the bar from 80, 90, 100 yards if he gets it in his hand or by free. So you probably won't get the same return out of him in full forward. It's like, no offense to him, like I know myself at whatever is he, 39, 40 years of age, he's not going to have that turn and pop over the bar like he used to. So have him out around the middle of the field there and pull Dahi out of centre back and get on the ball there, let the lads pop the ball to him and he'll put the ball over the bar. I think he's better off doing that floating 11 game. Just suits him better. Like, but what a year he's having in all fairness stuff for the age. He's some warrior. Like, and I know I was talking to Dean there at the start of the year. Like, he wasn't able to train at the start of the year. He was just going match to match. You know what I mean? So to be able to do that, like, and I seen him against Sarsfields exactly. Like, he was everywhere. Like, he was tracking back and made a hook with 5 minutes to go as well, back in his own half back line. So Like he's some warrior. Just a big call there as well. Actually, the last day I didn't hear. I just heard it after our match. The last day was Darragh Walsh went in goals and Mark. They dropped Mark Fahey
Yeah,
for Turlough the last day. Was that an injury or is that going to be the case the next day? I wonder.
they just dropped him. I think they made the
Yeah,
decision. Yeah, it was
big
a
call that now.
yeah big.
Especially the stadium the next day. Puckhouse be massive, like because the pitch is so big.
Would you have played with Mark, Craig?
No. He's only in the last year or two. But yeah, no. I was just wondering about that call. I don't know was it an injury or not? Like, but like because I
Who's repping
know
again the
Darragh.
next day, Docs? Any sign of a ref yet?
I'll just check here now.
Ian Hines is refereeing that match.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
Looking at the handy there.
No, that's for sure.
just finally, lads, on matchups. You mentioned there you see Dahi on Ger Farher. Do you expect Turlough just to go physically man to man, Jack Coyne on Bronan Burke, or do you expect them to drop someone back there?
I'd say all year anyway. Well, definitely against us, Dahi was sitting deeper. Like Dahi's probably sitting on the 45, and he let the centre forward roam. But like it's like Dahi, I think Dahi still do that. I think Dahi'll sit back and he'll protect Ronan or the space in front of Ronan, should I say? But I think they'll have to put someone on Farrer. So they'll probably pull at the midfielder, whoever the Dara Whelan maybe or something like that. Will have to follow Farrer in open play because they won't be able to afford to give them that space, especially in the stadium because there'll be more space than Athenry in the stadium for the likes of Farrer to get into pockets. So I'd expect Dahi to sit back in the 45, like not a sweeper role, but just sitting back protecting and maybe a midfielder to pick up Farrer, just kind of like that open play game.
Just then, would you expect Huzzy to go into the forwards at the weekend?
I don't know. Like because like well if Lofty's back, he definitely won't be because there'll be no room for him in the forwards. But like Kevin on his day is as good as Anton out there, and like that's why he only come on the last day, didn't he? Only played 25 minutes. But if he's fit to start, he'll have to start the next day. So but I don't know where he'll play. He's been playing wing back for the last couple of years, and wing forward at times. So I don't know where they'll slot him in.
As well, just to kind of finish up on this game, Kevin, you mentioned you expect Turlough to win it. You nearly feel for Castle though, if they're going to call something here, they really need to stop the Turlough half forward line scoring. They were crucial against Mike Cullen, Connor Walsh, Jamie Holland, and Sean O'Hanlon. Like all these players have just the ability to come up with 3 or 4 points a game.
Yeah, well, Jamie Holland back again. That was his first game back.
Yeah.
You know, he was playing 6 there last year and the year before, and to pop up with 3 or 4 points, a serious hurler. Not renowned for his point taking, but he's a outstanding hurler. You know, he's a huge plus for them now. He's a massive plus for them. They have a bright bit of physicality now in the half forward line. They must have heard us on the podcast the last day because they were playing Sean Lennon at number 11, and like we were on about myself and Searle and yourself, leave him if he's good enough for county at 8 or 9. Leave him at 8 or 9 with his club. Work your team around your county guys, you know. But just on the Farrer thing before we leave it, Shocks, like they have to go man to man the next day on him. You know, at 40 years of age, it's just a credit to him. And they're not going to. Turlough are going to want their own all-star Dahi, you know, hurling as well. So they'll hit him with a couple of sharp puck outs and they'll try to suck Farrer back in. But they'll have Whelan or someone like that on him. And they'll stick to him all day. Just stick with Farrer, do nothing else. But you can be sure, like when we're talking again next week, Shocks, or the week after, he'll still have 10 or 12 points scored. You can be sure there'll be 2 or 3 of them from play, a line ball, and 7 or 8 frees, regardless who marks him. That's just the way the game will be. Hopefully to come out the right side of it.
Greg, Kevin's predicted Turlough. Who are you predicting?
Yeah, I'd agree with Kevin. I think just overall, I think that Turlough probably have a bit more strength and depth. Like you're naming them there. Jamie Holland never played against us. Kevin Hutsey never played against us. I know Darragh Walsh is in goals, but never played against us. Like they just seem to have 2021 lads, and I think Castlegar, albeit when they click, they're very good. They might be just lacking the squad depth that Turloughmore have. Like Turloughmore just seem to have it in abundance. Like even Lofty coming back there now as well as another plus to add. So I probably just tip Turloughmore. I'd say on that one, right? Yeah.
The next game up after that is St. Thomas's Captagal. 4:15 in Pearse Stadium as well. John Kane is referencing that. Can Thomas's be caught this weekend, Kevin?
No. I don't think there's any team in the country at the moment to catch Thomas's. They're just like, usually you regard Thomas's holding their run, for this time of year, quarter-final, semi-final, which they've always done. But they've come out with the blocks all guns blazing this year. First game, bang. Second game, bang. They're really, really consistent at the moment. As I talk to David Burkbeck training, I know he won't be anywhere near it yet, but like, if they get to a county final, which they look highly likely to, and as Greg said, they've used very, very little of their bench. I think it's 17 players they've used or something in the championship. Something
After winning
ridiculous.
an under 20B as well.
Yeah, exactly. And hurled very well as well, But they have a lot of, like, for a club that's so small, and a couple of years ago you were saying, they might get 2-3 county titles and there'll be no more about them. But when you see what's coming through now in the underage, no more than Garton or more as well, they have a huge, huge future ahead of them. But I can't see anybody, this weekend or coming near them. Now, Happy won't be thinking that, they're at a goal fest as well against Sheila. They're good hurlers. They're really. I seen them a couple of years ago against Mellows in an county quarter final in a double header in Athenry. Jicey was playing as well, and he was doing the coaching with them. They look physically in super condition, and you can see the work he'd done with them. They've brought it on again. But we just spoke a couple of weeks ago as well, Shocks, about it. Had they lost a few, they lost a couple of lads to immigration and stuff like that, but to bounce back the last day in the way that they did, they would have been relishing the challenge now of Thomas's this weekend. They'll be giving it absolutely everything. But how many teams? Thomas's are very like Limerick in the sense that you live with them for 40, 50, even 55 minutes, but they'll just do enough to push over the line. And I give Thomas's the heads up in this.
You obviously seen Capitalia up close and personal, Craig, that day where they knocked you out in the preliminary quarter-final. Have you seen anything that day that you believe Capitalia can overturn Thomas's this weekend?
Like, I know Dan Nevin and Paul Claffey are serious losses for like that because they're experienced that they probably don't have. They're very young as well, Cappy, in some regard, but like they definitely have the forwards, without a doubt, trouble Thomas's backs, especially the three lads, the two Collinses and Jay. They are as like, and the stadium will suit them. Like, we played them there in a quarter final 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Captagal, and like, she's did an awful job with Liam Collins and Jay inside. Like, they just love space, and that will trouble them. They probably need to be just everything going right for them, and nothing going right for Thomas's is their back. Their six backs against Thomas's forwards. Just experience Thomas's forwards have is just like that 15, 20 yard stick pass to get out of trouble, to do the right thing at the right time, not to panic. That's probably just. I honestly think that the only team that could trouble them for the likes of that is Loughrea at the minute. Now, like, there's probably a case for momentum with the likes of Sarsfields and maybe Turloughmore if they win at the weekend that you wouldn't know in a semi-final, but they're just experienced. Like, it's even with us, with the first that we played them, like you had Aina, Dara, James, like, just really good at doing the right thing at the right time, and that's probably where Capitagal will be just lacking a small bit the next day. Whereas they have the lads that take them on and get points and all that, but like, as Kevin said, when it comes to 45, 50 minutes and you think, geez, I'm in with a shout here, next thing, you lapse concentration for 2 seconds and the ball's in the back of the net. You do it again another 2 minutes later and the ball's in the back of the net again. And that's what they're very good at. They don't panic at all. Like, and the other side of that then as well is if Conor Cooney's on form, it's very hard to curtail him. Like, and that's not only short. He's the best club hurler in the county for the last 5 years. It's a more than us there. He just popped off 4 or 5 points in about 7 or 8 minutes, and next thing, all of a sudden, before you know it, you're 4 or 5 points down.
You're just thinking with Cappy, Skell went with that long puck out against G, and they seem to get joy off it, but it doesn't feel like something you get off the Thomas's defence. Like, do they have to do something different this weekend with the Collinses and Jam Mannion and try and play a deep game or something, because that puck out just doesn't feel like it would work with the way Thomas is set up.
No, like, and look, to be honest, like me or Shane Cooney plays so far. He plays a bit like that. He plays in the 45 as the sixth anyway, so that's not going to work. Like, we didn't do that the last time. We left too much space in front of our full back line there, full forward line. Like, our half back line was nearly playing in midfield, and we created all that space. And even Ballinasloe, which is a tight pitch, so you can imagine the stadium, like, you have to even play deeper. So, like, if Cahill, Shane, and Evan Duggan playing the half back line, they're around a while now. They've a good few counts titles in their back pocket. They're too smart for that. I mean, you have James and whoever's with them midfield, like, they just sit back as well. Like, so they're too smart for that. Like, so I don't think they're going to get the space that they did against us. And like, even Shane, like, he knows that he's well able to get over and back, and he'll support the cornerback or the fullback. So I actually think Cap Taylor are going to have to try something different as well the next set. They're not just going to get the ball in as easy as they did against us. So what that is, I don't know, because as Kevin said, Thomas has just seemed to know how to do all sorts and counteract every game plan. And I know as it gets to semi-final and stuff like that, Davy, or if they win the next day and they get further on and you play maybe one of the better teams again, or even against Capitag the next day, Davy will be a loss with likes that, controlling the game in the middle of the field and know what to do. So I did hear he's back running, but like, I think the operation was got in the middle of April or something like that. So like, I just know from experience myself, it's very, very tight to be back that quick. I did it myself. I got my operation the start of March, and I was back for a county final middle of October, end of October, and it was a bad move. It was a bad move. I was out for 4 months again after that, Kev. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, no matter what happens, I know, like, I'm not telling David what to do or anything like that. Yeah. But the law is like, you need time, and that's it. No matter how.
And what was it, lad? Was it? Did you tweak it again, or was it?
Yeah, I tweaked it again after 45 minutes. Right, I didn't play. I think I played the league game at Galway back in February 17th. Like, I was 4 months trying to recover from that bit of you know, I did everything to the T. Like, and I know Davey will be absolutely meticulous in what he does. But like, it's just, you know, yourself. It's just it takes time. Like, and but look at it. I'm not saying that's what. Like, all I'm saying is he will be a serious loss in the pitch. Like, I fucking played against him so many times. He's nearly like a player manager out in the pitch as well, like, because he can see things before anybody else is out in the pitch, and albeit he'll be on the sideline roaring it, he'll be a bit of a loss around the middle of the field for that. But next day against Cappy, I just think that they still have the likes of James, Aina, Dara, Connor, Shane, Cahill, all these experienced lads. Like, so
that's the challenge you've mentioned, Kevin, with Thomas's, that they just always have an answer similar to Limerick. Like, but they've lost David Burke, as we've mentioned. James Riggins came in, probably being one of the players in the championship so far. But it's their ability to answer these questions, and like, we'd be silly to put back against them this weekend, because they're obviously going for the sixth in a row. They're the standard bearers. Everything seems to be going well in the club at the minute. Under 20B champions, their second team in a junior A semi. Like, it's just very hard to look past Thomas's in any department this weekend.
It is, of course, but like, when the news broke that Davy done his cruciate at that time, you know, it was a huge loss for Galway. Like, a huge loss. He's just such a leader around the place. But like, Davy took so much ball in the half back line as a midfielder. He played even at 30 yards out as Lally. He'd take it short, he'd link it to number 6, he'd take it again, he'd link it to Conor Cooney, it'd be thrown out the wing, you know, to Dara or whoever, bang over the bar, you know. Like, and I struggle to see that Thomases will be able to get someone to do that job again, you know, but they've just slotted in, they've played their hurling the exact same way, and it's as if Davy hasn't even been out. Now, I know, as Lal said there, he's 100% right. Like, when you come to this business end of the year, you know, they don't do panic anyways, but you still need your real leaders. Let's say for like Farrer there, Dahi, or Conor Cooney, like Lal himself, Bogart. You need the big guys for the big day. But these guys have had so many big days that, you know, they're leaders all over the field.
Do you think they're wanting to do this for David, the Thomas's team?
100%. But as Farrell said the other night, he was talking to him after they won the 5 in a row last year. And what was the words he said to him outside? He said, we're going for 7 in a row. That's the animal of the man, not 6. He bypassed the 6 because some other team had done it back in
Peter's
the
well, back in the day.
as well, yeah.
yeah, and he wanted it better than that's the animal you're dealing with, and that's the types of players, and that's not just David Burke, that's the whole Thomas's ethos and their club, So hats off.
Just finally, Craig, you'd expect Keane Manning, I suppose, to come in this weekend with that Castlegar pace.
Yeah, he'd be definitely a plus in the full back line, right? He's a serious man marker, and what was it, 4-6 weeks ago now, I suppose, since I seen him against Portumna, so he's probably had 6 weeks of hard training and those 4 weeks off there. Now he's probably got to do extra training and stuff like that. So after enjoying himself out in New York, no doubt, over the summer. So but yeah, no, look, he'll be a serious plus for them. But in all fairness, out of the starting 15, definitely the ones that started against us anyway, it's hard to pull any of them off the team, to be honest. Yeah, they've been very good so far in the first 3 matches. So O'Keen he's loads of experience and all that. No, on the other side of that there as well, Davies out, but they've also lost Mark Caulfield, who'll be a big loss for them. He got man of the match in the county final last year, so he's been missing as well. And
Has
Bernard, of
he
course,
gone travelling, is he?
he was in New York for the summer as well. I don't think he's back yet. So maybe he's
Turn
back.
back training.
Bernard, well, sure. They're a bit like the Turloughmore lads. They tell you one thing, but it's hard to believe them.
Yeah.
So I heard he was, but I haven't seen him around Gore. He works in Gore there. I haven't seen him in a while now, but to ask him, but he wouldn't tell you the
Yeah.
truth either. But no, he'd be a plus to have as well. So if you're thinking about it from the panel last year, you're talking about Davy, Mark Caulfield, and Bernard out of the panel. Maybe if Bernard's not back, so they are 3 lads of a loss. So as I was saying to you, when it comes down to the business, it's all right against Cork in the first round of the championship, and you win it by 9 or 10 points not to bring on a sub. But when you get to this stage, the last 8, you need to be able to bring on 17, 18, or have 17, 18 players. A stadium is a big pitch as well. Lads they get tired fairly easy, and you need to be able to bring on them subs. So do I think they'll have enough for cap tackle this weekend? Yes, experience wise, yes, but get to the last 4 there, they're going to need likes of Burner back, and they're going to need that young Farrell fella in the 20Bs, maybe him come on and bring fresh legs like they brought on in the last 2 or 3 years. John Head has come on there, he's done a real good job. So they're going to bring a few more, and they're going to need some sort of a new Mark Caulfield to come out of the woodwork this year.
So you're both predicting Thomas is there. So Thomas is in Turloughmore so far to get to the semis. Sunday, Loughrea, Clarinbridge, 2:00, Pearse Stadium. I don't think this game needs much building up here, Kevin.
Oh, cracker. I'll be at the Saturday game, but I promised my young one I'm bringing her to the band of slow fair, so I gotta get out of it. With the hoses. No, I've tipped at the start of the year. I tipped Loughrea to win the county final. I'm going to stick with it. I think it's going to be a repeat of last year, the two teams again in the semi-final. But Loughrea have done absolutely nothing wrong all year. Clarinbridge have been topsy-turvy, up and down. Is TJ Brennan back?
Yeah, TJ Brennan's back. Played
against back again. Yeah, he only got one suspension. Yeah, he's a huge boost to them again. But it's going to come down to freeze now again, lads. I think that Nyland will shoot from anywhere. Referees have a big weekend. Do they let the games play? If you have one referee that lets everything go and the other 3 don't, well, where's the consistency? And I'm not.
Well, Liam Gordon's refereeing this, and he usually does let it flow. So you imagine.
Yeah, well, he'd be one of the better ones now, in all fairness. And nothing I've great time for referees, and it's not an easy job. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But if they're not as friendly with the whistle, Loughrea, I think, will win this game 6 or 7 points. I just think that they're on a different level than Clarinbridge, and there's great rivalry there between the two of them. 2 young teams. Clarinbridge are they brought in more and they were JV4 this year. Didn't start that great, and those questions being asked of them and different things like that. But they just seem to have found the momentum again after the last day. I think the stadium will suit them. They're light, they're fast, but it'll also suit Loughrea. It's going to be a cracking game, but I think Loughrea will win this one.
I put the question to Kevin at the start of the podcast about this 4-week break, Craig, and who would it be of advantage to have. But Clarinbridge are coming on the back of They made it hard on themselves against Ardrahan, but they showed character to come back. Joshua Ryan showed the confidence of the dummy, and then to bang it in the back of the net. Loughrea haven't really been tested, is what people will say yet. So that's what makes this weekend intriguing now.
Yeah, it does. And look, to be honest, I was only listening to the radio. No, I didn't see it, but like Ardrahan, when they brought it back to level, they had 3 opportunities to take the lead, and they never took them. And in all fairness to Clarinbridge, when they got the chance, then they took it. And Josh Ryan, for all the world, finished the goal brilliant. Had a great game overall. But as Kevin said, that their year has been up and down too much. Like, do you know what I mean? And like they need to get consistency within the group. Like since they got to county final 2 years ago, they've probably gone backwards a small bit, to be honest, as a group. Do you know what I mean? And they
Why
have
is
gone
that, do you
backwards.
think?
I don't know. I can't like I'd be turning off with a good few Clarinbridge lads and be talking there to Lee Madden and Mihal and a few of the lads there a good bit. Like I can't put a finger on it, like, because like the talent that they have coming through, like it's a bit like Turloughmore, like, you know, they've so much talent, they've won so much, and even the under 20s there now, the last day they won the under 20s, like it's hard to like when you sit back and look at it, and this is not a criticism of Clarinbridge, but have they too many similar players? You know, they've so many lovely wristy hurlers, but have they Kevin Brady that'd do you in a second, or, do you know what I mean? But they have someone that'd just a ruthless. And I like they need to be able to up that the next day, because I can tell you, and Kevin will tell you the same thing. When you come up against the Loughrea team, you need to be able to give it back because they will mix it. And like that's always been the case. Kevin's time when I came along, you need to be, and it's bred into them, and that's the way they are, and they're tough teeth. Like Clarinbridge are going to be able to have to match that the next day, and they did. Like I was down in a Clarinbridge Loughrea quarter-final down in Athenry, was it 2 or 3 years ago in thunderstorms, and when it came tough, Clarinbridge pulled through, and Evan Nyland stood up to the plate, and they won by a point, I think, and they went on. I think that was the year they went back to county final. But they need to do that the next day now, like, and they need to find something out of somewhere because it's been a poor year, really, for what their standards are. Like, their standards are trying to win a county final. So they need to step up to the plate the next day. Like, and look, at they can say, and I was talking to them, like, and they're waiting for a few of these lads. Like, Aaron Nyland, like, is a serious, serious talent coming through, and he's unbelievable. But, like, the lads that are there now this year, they need to step up to the plate and just not be waiting for the likes of these lads to come through from their 20s. And there's a few of them around a while now. The Armstrongs and even Evan now is a few years playing senior hurling and a few more of them. So like Sunday's a big test now, and like to be honest, I'd be with Kevin from the start of the year, even last year. Like I thought Loughrea were the best team in the championship last year, even though they didn't come home with the cup. I tipped Loughrea to win the cup, or to win the championship this year from an early stage. And just go back to your point there, Paul. I don't think it's Loughrea haven't had a challenge. I think it's Loughrea being so good that nobody can give them a challenge so far. And to be honest, we were just talking about it before we come online. Like they still have, they didn't play Martin McManus for the first 2 games. O'Sheen Kyle hasn't been back for the first 2 games. Like they've had 4 weeks now for the likes of these guys to get fully fit again. Like they have a serious panel. Like, and as Kevin mentioned before the podcast, not alone the serious panel, but the serious backroom team as well. Like inter-county stuff.
You even look at Loughrea's back six. You could have Cayman Killeen, Paul Hubban, Kieran Hanrahan, Brian Carey, Johnny Cohen, and Tiernan Killeen, but you're leaving out Oisin Coyle and Shane Morgan.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and like we spoke about Shane Morgan last year being a serious loss when it comes to the county final. Like, and like the man marking job he would have done. There you haven't even mentioned in 6 backs. And Oisin Kyle has been a stalwart for them for the last couple of years. So, and like nearly all of those have got county experience. Do you know what I mean? Like Johnny speaks for himself and the rest of the lads. So Paul Hooven has been there for a good few years. So, like I'd say the hardest job for Loughrea at the weekend, the manager is picking the team. Do you know what I mean? Leading up to it. So look at Clarinbridge are going to really need to get a performance out of somewhere and be ready for an absolute war, because that's what it's going to be.
Can they match Loughrea's physicality, Kevin, or do they have to try and just come with something different like Cappy?
Every team will try and match each other, you know, but for me, they were always the team that brought the most physicality is Loughrea. Gart, in their older days, we said the Lenan there now and Ali Fahey, these guys were tough men. But Loughrea were just, as Lal said there, it's just bred into them. You know, from under 10s up along, like, and every one of these guys that played county, you know, the Mahers and Johnny Og and Brian Mahoney and Friday, all of these guys, Vinny Maher, you know, Greg Kennedy, all of these guys have been involved with the club all the way up along. And some of them have young lads playing now. Like, anytime you went out to play Loughrea, you knew you were coming off sore, you know. And I can remember I plastered a house there for Johnny O'Loughlin a few years ago, and we were just chatting, and he says, regardless, Brady, he said, whether we're a pint up or a pint down, he said, with a minute to go, he said, we always knew we'd beat you. And he said, we always knew we'd beat any team. He said, that was the mentality that they had within their squad. Like, I thought it was a profound statement. Like, that's the way them boys were bred. They were arrogant, they were bold, they were men, they were teeth tough, everything that you could want in the team. And they just came along at the wrong time because they came up against the best team of all time in Portumna. And it was an awful pity because they definitely would have won 3 or 4 county titles. They only ended up winning 1, I think, which was
They did, and they deserve more, in all fairness.
They did, 100%. Went to Crow Park then and things didn't work out for them. But as in physicality, they'll never ever be found wanting. And hurling wise, and Lal made a great point there. It's not that they haven't been challenged. No one has been good enough to challenge them this year. They're still the team that I think will win the championship. I think they'll win again Sunday.
Why do you think they'll win, Kevin?
Just too good. It's as simple as that. I just think they're a better team. I think they're better balanced. They're meaner, they're tougher. Their defenders are teak tough. There's no getting out there. I think Jamie Ryan is moving the ball very well around. They have a couple of good forwards. And you know what they have? They have a bench. You know, you spoke about it there. Like, I think 90% of these guys have hurled county at some stage up along. That's a profound stat, like, and all young guys. But they've been around a couple of years now at the same time. And at the start of the year, you know, when Brian Mahoney and a few of the lads went in with them, in with Tommy Kelly, like, I know that they had a team meeting, and what was spoken about at that team meeting was winning the county title, not the group stages or who's coming out. I know for a fact it was said, I won't say who said it, that they were going all out to win a county title this year. Now, I know it's an old cliche that every club would have that talk, oh, we're going for, but you have to be realistic as well. You know, there's only about 2 teams really that can win it, in my own opinion, this year. I could be slated for saying that, and that's Tommy's and Loughrea. So Loughrea were well within their means to say that in his dressing room or in a team meeting. And I think they're doing everything right up to now. And I just can't see Clarinbridge. And I will finish on this. And Lal hit the nail on the head. He did say that Clarinbridge have gone back in the last couple of years. I agree with him. It's very, very hard to put my finger on it as well. I won't say they're soft. They're not. They're not soft. That got me in trouble before.
Come on, Kevin, you have to say it again.
No, but they're wristy hurlers, you know. They have no 40, you know. They have no Modge anymore, you know. Jamie Cannon. They're tough guys that don't seem to have they have no outball, you know what I mean? Where you can just get it, launch it, and have a guy to hold up 3 or 4 players till another guy comes in. They don't seem to have that. If they don't get the ball to hand, it's lost. I just think Loughrea will be way too physical, and they'll be in their faces from the start.
Just finally on Clarinbridge, you feel like to match physicality this weekend, they need really to get primary possession. They're obviously going to try and get Evan on the ball. Keane Salmon's going to be vital in that, Craig. Mikey Daly's going to be vital in that, because really the likes of Joshua Ryan and David Lee are going to try and be their main threat inside. Gavin Lee's probably going to come out as third midfielder with Sean Kilduff and Liam Lean. With Salmon, do you try and bring him out or do you try and keep him in? Because it is a question of, like, how can they minimise Loughrea's physicality, particularly defensively, because that's where it does start off for Loughrea.
No, I leave him inside. Keane's best position is in the corner of the square or the edge of the square. He's the biggest physical man they have. Like, Mikey Daly's a big, strong boy as well, in all fairness, but Keane is the main man. He's the focal point. You go, Mark will come off his shoulder, Gavin Lee will come off his shoulder, Evan come off his shoulder down the middle. That's what you want, like, and that's what they're best at doing. And in all fairness to Keane, he does a good job at it. In all fairness, is like, that's, if they're not playing that 10-15 yard pass, Keane is normally the go-to man with the high ball. So Yeah, they'll aim to do that the next day. But look, don't get me wrong. If it turns into a real slick hurling match, Clarinbridge are well able to hurl like they are. But I just think, going back to Kev's point, he's dead right. Like, I think Loughrea are so physical that they'll turn it into a physical situation. Like, and but didn't have the hurlers like Jamie and them to take on the game, and Neil Carey and these lads who can play hurling as well. But like Clarinbridge, like, have they a really good game in them? 100%. They can click. If they click, they'll have a really good game in them. But I just don't think it'll be the next day, because I just think Loughrea are really, really moving well. Time in the run perfect. Injuries back. The physical side of things, they'll be able to mix it the next day. As Kevin said, they're hard play against. So,
It'll
where
be the third game as well, shots. It's promised rain the weekend. It'll all play into Loughrea's barrow, like.
yeah, that was the way of the Clare Championship there at the weekend as well. Last weekend, like, you don't know if you've seen the matches there on Sunday or on
Yeah.
Sunday and Telly, Clonlara and Aero. Jeez, like the rain, the pitch in Ennis was just the hurling side of it went out the window. Like, it turned into a real battle. Like, in Clonlara come out on top, and I think that'll be the same way as you said. The stadium taking 4 matches the next day, and that'll be the third game. Like, so it's going to be it won't be the 10, 15 yard lovely chippy passing that was playing in the summer. The game changes. That's why Thomas gets so good at it as well. This time of the year suits them, and I think Loughrea down through the years is this type of game that suits them as well.
Yeah, John Conlon could get a very busy man now between Clonlair in a semi-final and Loughrea. Be interesting to see if there's a
Oh,
clash
that's right,
there
yeah.
or something. But that's one to keep the eyes on. The last quarter-final, Sarsfields or more Mary. Both of you said that Ormore Mary have been the team of the championship and Sarsfields, then Kevin, have probably the most impressive team and most impressive performance from the preliminary quarter-final. I think Sunday is probably the most exciting day compared to Saturday because it's toss of coins, really, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and like, or more. I think it'll suit them on Sunday because the pitch will be mucked up regardless whether it rains or not, and or more they're so physically fit, that it took them a couple of years to get up to the standard of hurling, so they worked harder on their physical side of things and work on their hurling as well. But it's a lot easier to get physically fit than to bring your natural hurling in, and it gave them time to bring the younger guys through. They're a serious outfit now, but they're under 20s coming through as well. I think they're on a crest of a wave now. No more than Gart as well. You have an awful lot of young lads coming as well, and you're going to be a serious outfit in a few years. But as in regard, we spoke about the last day shock with Sarsfields. You were saying actually about Gart. Did they time their run? Was it a master stroke? And it turned out no. But I think this is a master stroke by Sarsfields. Have they timed their run? I've seen them the last day. Oh my God. Like they were,
That's the
well,
competition in that Sarsfields team now. Like,
yeah.
it's just looking at the bench, the Climber Daily. Yeah, Kenneth Cooney, Darren Murphy, Adam Donoghue, Niall Morrissey, Oisin Keane, and Alan Moore were just some of the subs to come on.
Yeah, sure. Like Morrissey, like, where do you start with them? They're so well coached. And we said it the last day as well with Searle as well. Like, sometimes they didn't know what team to put out, and they looked very disjointed. They were trying to play this short game, and it wasn't working for them. And the last day when they went with the long ball, and all of a sudden, Climber Daly set back, they went short, and they set Kevin Cooney in. They played some fantastic hurling the last day. Morrissey was outstanding at cornerback. Cooney's are just animals. Conor Cooney's having the year of his life.
Joseph,
Or Joseph, sorry, he's having the year of his life at centre back. He's really, really enjoying his hurling. And as Searle said the last day, when he hurls well, the whole team hurls well around him. It's just the aura he brings with him. Kevin is really, really flying as well. He's going well on the freeze. His stats were good the last day. You'd have to go with Sarsfields, but it can be a flick of a coin. If it comes down to a dogfight, a real physical battle, I'd side with Oran more. But as in the hurling wise, I just feel, that Sarsfields have it. But I think it'll be a fairy tale for Oran more if they win it. But I won't be surprised if they do win it.
big question mark Craig, is going to be Niall Burke's fitness this weekend. Do you think Niall Burke still has something to offer Galway?
I would, yeah, 100%. If he was willing to come back, I would, yeah. Like if you look at the Galway puck out last year, I think I spoke about it on a podcast last year with you, Paul, and like Niall Burke to catch a 15, 10 minutes to go, and you need a ball, a go-to man with a puck out in that. Burke was the man to go to, like, and I think Galway missed that last year. And definitely if he was there, he'd be, a man to bring on 10, 15 minutes to go. So yeah, I definitely would. Would he be back? Will he be back next day? I hope for more sake he is. I heard he's back training, all right.
What injury had he, lad?
Hammer was at him all year because they played Clarinbridge in the first game. Did he miss the penalty and then he went off afterwards about 10 minutes to go? So it's at him since the start of the year, and he was playing the last day against Clarinbridge in the last group game over in our pitch. He went off after 15 minutes. So, like, in all fairness, they performed without him for the 45 minutes afterwards, the young lads. But they'll need him the next day, like 100%. Like, if they don't have him, it's going to be a serious loss straight away from the off. But I'd imagine he'll start, I'd say definitely. Just see, hopefully he can finish out the game. Sarsfields the last day, came out of the dressing room after our game, watched the first half against Clarinbridge, and I just thought, oh, when these lads turn it on, I was mentioned it last year too, Paul. We played them in a challenge match after the first round of the championship. It was 3 weeks of a break last year. We played them over in Bullon. There was young fellas coming on the pitch with 45, 50 minutes gone. These subs, I didn't know who they were. They were 19, 20 years of age, buzzing around the place. And I just said to I left Bullon last year saying, these lads are going to come close to county championship. Now, they underperformed. I think the weather went against them as it went on. They were just too young and the physical side of things, and the pitch got slower, and it probably went against them. But seeing them the last day against Clarinbridge, like they had everything that they needed. Like Darren did a great job, and Bino stopped them, nullified them completely. I think Bino got 2 points in the first half, but Darren stopped it out of the ball. Joseph was just coming back in, sweeping a centre back, got onto loads of ball. Then they worked the ball out, either Heinze himself or Darren when the ball was coming out. Every ball went in front of Kevin. Kevin was on fire the last time. Jeez, the ball he was getting him. Like, there's no full back in the county or country that would have marked in the last day. Then John Cooney was winning puck outs. Ian Fox was floating around getting a few points. It just looked really, really impressive the last day. But the only question mark for Sarsfields is, can they produce that the next day again? Because if you look at it against Kev, against Castlegar in the second game, they were poor, and they were off.
Very up and down.
They were very up and down. Like Kevin Cooney, where he was absolutely on form the last day. He missed a few vital frees in the second game against Castlegar, and Niall Morrissey came on. No, in all fairness, Niall tipped over the frees, took over, but like the next day against Turloughmore, Kevin needs to be on form, can't be missing any frees like that. But if they play like they did the last day against Clarinbridge, I'd imagine I'd definitely give Sarsfields the nod 100%. I just think there's very few teams now that keep with them like they did the last day.
Is it just quite simply G Mac on Kevin Cooney this weekend, Kevin?
Yeah, and I think G-Mac will have his hands filled. Sarsfields are so cute, and Lal hit the nail on the head. They have young lads coming on buzzing. They're very, very cute and very well coached in what they do. They won't be launching balls down the top of GMAC, not in Pearse Stadium, because, like, for the likes of GMAC to win a high ball, like, it gives the whole team a G up. So what they'll be doing is they'll be keeping it out wide. They'll be bringing out John Cooney, and they'll be popping ball in front of him. And if he can take him on, and GMAC loves coming in straight lines, but if you're around him, he's in trouble. He still has pace, but Kevin Cooney is lighting, absolute lighting, So I'd be worried now if I was GMAC. But the only good thing about it is, with the weather is promised bad and all of this, it will be a defender's game. But on the other side of that, as Lal knows well, as playing as a defender, you have to be cautious. Like, if you're going for a ball 50-50 with a forward, and you slip, he's gone. He's inside. So do you let him win it and stand him up? Like all good hurlers decide this on the day. They know exactly. It's different if you're attacking a ball in the half back line, you can go for it because you cover inside. But there's nowhere to hide in the full back line. So Kevin Cooney on fire he's really unstoppable.
I probably expect Owen Gurley then to tie up with John Cooney. The battle in the middle is going to be intriguing. Ross Malone and Patrick Burke there coming up probably against Ian Fox and Dara Donoghue. But on the or more half forward line, they played against Clonmerdale. Ruben Davitt, Rory Burke, Anthony Keeley, they're all electric. Craig, they were central to More and that under 20. Like it's really exciting to see how these players have been so successful for Galway at under 20 level. How they're going to tie up now, and I think people around the county are interested to see how they're going to go this weekend.
Yeah, and look at it. It's great to see, but it's great to see lads like that stepping up to the plate. They played very good at Galway minors and 20s. Like Rory Burke the last day for the under 20s, like jeez, the hand pass he gave for the goal, he must have ran 50 yards straight through the middle of Clarinbridge defence. So like he's a great prospect. He was very good that day out in Gort now. Especially when he actually went into full forward line for the last 15 minutes and he caused awful trouble. Anthony Keedy is as quick as Kevin Cooney when he gets the ball. He's absolutely lightning. Ruben Davitt's the same way. So they do have that. Now the only side of it is they're probably a bit like us. They're very inexperienced on that side. Whereas the Sarsfields backs, like if Joey at 6, or Heinzie at 3, they probably have a bit with Darren corner. They've probably a bit more experience for the like Stim lads. But at the same time, maybe the youth have no fear the next day going in. Ross Malone midfield as well as bomb on forward there, good bit. So or more fast and nippy. If Niall is playing it, Niall could be playing it full or could be playing it centre as well. They might put Rory Burke inside. So like if it's a case of Rory Burke inside and on Heinzie, maybe space will suit him as well on the day. So look, there's loads of different scenarios there with the or more forwards as well. What way they line out, they could be all over the place. But I suppose the good thing about that is youth or final, they have nothing to lose, as I said in the start. You're in bonus territory now or more, so they go out feeling that the next day. They can just play off the cuff, or there's probably a bit more pressure on Sarsfields because it's a bit like Clarinbridge or Turlough or Thomas's or Loughrea. Their goal every year is to win a county final at the end of the day. They're at that stage now and they probably need to make a breakthrough because they're a few of the older lads there like Niall Morrissey and Heinzie and a few of these lads, they need to make a breakthrough soon.
So lads, this is the fourth quarter final. Are we still sticking with Turlough, Thomas's, Sarsfields and Loughrea to be in the last four?
Yeah.
So they are the 4 senior quarterfinals. Just briefly then on the Senior B, it's on Saturday, doubleheader in Loughrea. It's Kilnadeem and Haskra, Mulla versus Lee Mellows. 2 winners advance to the Senior B final, and then the winner of that final goes up to Senior A then. And the Senior A relegation final then between Portumna and Kilkenarren is Sunday week, just due to Kilkenarren obviously playing Crowell there just on the weekend gone by. Who do you see coming out of the 2 semi-finals this weekend in Senior B, Kevin?
It's going to be a cracking game with Mulla and Mellows. I've seen Mulla playing this year. There was a bit of trouble there in the Mellows camp earlier on in the year. They seem to have weathered the storm and come back a bit. I'm really impressed with Mulla all year. I like them. They're physical, but they're hurlers. They've a lot of good young players coming through. Now I seen like earlier on in the year, no disrespect, but a lot of people were tipping Haskell Fohan to go back down. I like them. I really do. There's a good few of them lads playing football with Caltra and different things, and they're very, very fit. They're in a semi-final again this weekend. I think they're a serious outfit, as in regard of Senior B. They deserve to be up Senior A, but only one team can. I think Mulla will win, and I think Haskell Fohan will win this weekend.
And Greg, with the Senior B, Kilnadeem and Mulla have looked like the 2 teams kind of ahead of the rest, but then obviously Haskell and Mellows got off to terrible starts, but both teams have really seemed to recover. Like, we are set up for 2 cracking semi-finals here as well, but how do you see them going?
Yeah, I've been watching closely in Senior B there. Dean Riley works for me there from Pierce's, and they played Mellows in the last game, and so I've been watching that. Mellows, as Kevin said, very slow start, bit of trouble in the camp, management going and stuff like that. On paper, you'd imagine Mellows should be within the top 8, 6 teams in the county, and I'm talking about Senior A. They've that much talent, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't been clicked. The last, they were in 3 county finals in a row not so long ago. So, but look at, I think that on their day, they're definitely good enough to beat any of those teams. Mellows, it'll be a cracking game against Mulla the next day. I think that's where I see the winner coming from. Either that, Mulla or Mellows. Whoever wins that game, I probably just tip
On
Mellows in that one.
Loughrea, is it?
Yeah, both games are not great.
Yeah, both games in
All
Loughrea,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I probably just tip Mellows in that. Now, don't get me wrong, Mulla have been unbelievable all year. But if Mellows click, I just think they probably maybe have just a better, stronger team. But maybe look, Mulla have gone well all year. On the other one, Haskell, in all fairness, slow start as well. But I definitely agree with Kevin says the football side of things is definitely helping them. Like, they're such a tough, deep team. The boys playing football one weekend and hurling the next weekend. A lot of them there. Team fucking Pádraig Mannion was on the team in the week there a few weeks ago for the
Yeah.
football. So he was. So
Animal.
animal. So it just shows like that's the mentality them lads have, like, and that's what's grinding them out in matches. They keeping the team are going well done off fairness as well. So that'll be a closer one, I think. I think Mellows will be just about beat Mulla, but the other one is hard to call. If I was tipping it, I'd probably go with Kevin. I tip Haskell, right? So I'd go with Haskell Mellows, Haskell Mellows final.
Yeah, so that's the last 4 in the Senior B. Both of them games on Saturday in the Senior B. Then just on the intermediate quarters. Kevin, we'll just start with your own club first, Ceylon. They're coming up against Clarinbridge's second team this weekend in Tuam Stadium. Is this a difficult one for Ceylon? Because they've never come in as favourites to a quarter-final, and there's a bit of expectation now with this group coming into this game.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a banana skin for them. Like, we've spoken about it before. A lot of people don't realise the work that goes on down in Ceylon. And the amount of young fellas that are coming through, like, it's phenomenal. It really and truly is. It's a credit to the club down there, what's being done, and the selectors, and from everywhere, from under 8s all the way up along. But I've seen them a few times this year now, Ceylon, and they're a very, very good team. They really and truly are. Now, Keelan Craven, their former county guy, he hasn't played with them all year. He'd make any senior team. He really would. Very, very good free taker, very good stick man, physically very strong. But he's out with his knee, and I don't even think he'll be back later on in the year. I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he still wasn't right. He's a big loss to them, but at the same time, they're winning without him. Can they fall into the trap of the favour tagging and not winning against, or think that they're going to beat a senior or a senior second team? I don't think so. There's no egos in that side on dressing room whatsoever, and rightly so. I think they're good enough, definitely good enough to beat Clarinbridge the next day. The only thing about it is, from my perspective, looking at it, Shocks, and you know a lot of the Ceylon lads as well that played your own club and are down in the first round. What's the best team that they play the next day? Settle team for their semi-final, because that's what I'd be looking at it. I know I'm probably reading it down the line, but get their best 15 on the team, on the field, and have it settled for a semi-final, because if you cannot beat Clarinbridge's second team, you shouldn't be there anywhere close to going into a semi-final, if that makes sense. That's no disrespect to Clarinbridge's second team. I just think Ceylon have plenty in the tank for Clarinbridge.
What's impressed you most about Ceylon?
Their youth. I was involved with them on the 13, 14, 15, and I pulled out then at 15, just too busy at work and stuff, and they went on and won the under 15B. All of them guys now are 18, 19. Like we spoke about it a few weeks ago, Shocks. It's a big statement to say that I hope they don't win the intermediate, and I still stand by that. And the reason for it is because as Lal knows, like when I left Castlegar back hurler with Ceylon, we went up intermediate for the first time ever. So straight back into big training again, and like the jump from junior to intermediate is huge. What them guys don't understand, the jump from intermediate to senior is massive. So if they can hold, I think, semi-final, final for the next couple of years to get them guys that are 19, 20 up to 21, 22, 23, as Lal said, get their younger guys from Gort back into the gym, bulk them up, steal the mind, get them toughened up a bit, then have them ready for senior hurling, because there's nothing worse. We've done it in our own club in Kilconnelly in football and stuff, and there's nothing worse than going up and coming straight back down. It sets you back a few years. So just
Seen that with Climber this year.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be very, very tough for them to pick it up again.
Just then, Ballandreen and Rahoon play at 1:30 on Saturday in Tuam Stadium before Ceylon and Clarinbridge. Ballandreen are close enough to your own club, Craig. They've showed a bit of form coming through the prelims, drawn with Teenabs and Irie, but Rahoon as well topped the group. But are you surprised that you haven't seen Ballandreen kind of push on in the last year or two?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say they're disappointed themselves last year in particular. They didn't come back up. I seen them against Tina over in our pitch in the last game, was it? Last group game. And for the first 15, 20 minutes, they were unbelievable. They ran down the middle, they took on, they got goals, they went well ahead of Tina, who I'd seen play before that 2 or 3 times. They were fairly friendly there with Shane Maloney. And I went to see them play over in our pitch once or twice, and I said, geez, Tina straight back up. Nobody stopping Tina, but Ballinderring put it up to now the first 20 minutes. We were actually playing the same day against Portumna, so I left at half time. Ballinderring had a man sent off just before half time, and I could not get over. It was a draw at the end of it all. I just thought Ballinderring were playing so well. I don't know how that game finished up a draw, and I just said to myself, geez, when I seen that draw, I said, maybe they just don't, they're missing something, lacking something. They were last year. I seen them play once, twice well last year, but look, I think they'll have too much for Rahun. Fairly friendly. They were a good few Kilbacon lads there as well. It's Kilbacon were in Rahun's group, weren't they? So, I think from talking to the teams around, like there's a good few of them, South, like even Canberra there, like as well, but friendly enough to Canberra lads. And I think Ballinderry will have too much for Rahun the next day. But like I'm not skipping here now anything to the next quarter final, but I cannot see how Tina don't come back up out of that. Do you know what I mean? Like I just think that Paul Killeen is back there now. There's a few more back. There's a big panel of players. Like, they need to be thereabouts, coming back up and playing Senior B again.
Why do you feel a team won't be able to stop Tina this year?
Well, I seen them against Spiddle, was it? Was that the Spiddle in their group in the second game? I was out in our pitch as well, and like they were just they were playing unbelievable hurling, like through the lines. Paul to Shane, Porrick was in full. Like they had really good structure. But then I seen them against Ballinderry and they were just very poor in the first 15, 20 minutes. Now obviously they brought it back to where they should be, but if you name out a few of them hurlers like Paul Keeling, Shane Maloney, Porrick Breheny, 3 lads that were in a county panel 2 or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, like, it's a very strong spine they have. Like, and you add in a few more of the younger lads there they have as well. Like there's no reason, like a lot of those lads are like, I just think that they're very, very strong. Like, and to be involved, like to be not winning an intermediate championship. But don't get me wrong, like there's Ballinderry or even Ceylon or Canberra, even for that matter, might have a different opinion than I have. But at the same time, I just think that from what I've seen anyway so far, Tina this year, I just think that they should be pushing on and winning an intermediate championship.
Yeah, that's why it really does feel like an uphill task this weekend now for Carramore coming up against Tina, Kevin.
Oh yeah, but like I tipped them as well at the start of the year, no more than Lal. Like when Matty Kinney was appointed to come back, like that in itself was the writing on the wall. And I always like to see what management team come in and a backroom team. It sort of sets the standard. And like when you have the likes of these guys after coming out of a Dublin job, a real professional setup, coming back into his own club, demanding such high standards, and like then you have the spine of the team, like Oric Breheny there and Paul Killeen and all that, Shane Maloney and all these guys. I can't see anybody touching them. They're definitely
Hodges with them as well, isn't he? As a trainer.
Hodges there, yeah.
Hodges,
Hodges a legend. Like he's just a born and bred at the club up there, and I'm sure Bra is knocking around there as well. So, like, I can't see anybody beating them. I said it at the start of the year. I stick with it. Like that, like Lal said earlier on. For Thomas to be beaten this weekend, everything has to go wrong, and everything has to go right for somebody else. So, like, they're definitely my pick this weekend.
Just on that final quarter, lads, in intermediate, it could literally go right down to the wire. Like I wouldn't be even surprised to see extra time. Meath Aircourt are obviously looking to get back to the final. Kinvara got out of jail and probably know they've a point to prove this weekend. But Craig, that just seems like a game that already has extra time on the cards.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I was listening to Canberra match on the radio the last 15 minutes of it, and I just thought, how are they going? I thought, how are they going to throw away this? And then they got the goal at the end, and like Canberra, a bit like us, though, or even like one or two other teams there, they're very, very young, very young. Wheelo is I think Aidan Mylan there. Aidan's a year younger than me, and Wheelo is the next oldest there at 20, whatever he is, 5 or 6, and I think they've about 11 or 12 lads starting. They're under 20 or something after that. So very, very young. So they're just
Half of their football as well now.
Oh, they are, yeah. A lot of them are playing football. As Kev said there, I think they're a bit like their own club there in Ceylon. If they can just build it, and I think in 2 or 3 years' time, and these lads man up and they get a bit of gym behind them and they come up against a few tough teams and learn a few experiences, that's when they need to come up then. And as Kevin said there, we play Climber in a challenge match a couple of weeks before the first round of championship, and like the way they were set up, it's definitely it's nothing got to do with Desi or the way they set up it, because they had 38 lads togged out. They were there an hour and a half before the match started. They came out, they did a warm up for the ages. It wasn't that side of things that let them down, but maybe they just weren't ready for senior hurling. You know what I mean? Maybe that 20 lads just weren't ready. And as you say, Kevin, they're there now, they're back down in intermediate again, and it's a tall task to come back up again, isn't it? Big thing now to undertake again, come back up again next year. So as Kevin said, Canberra will be looking to do exactly what Kev said there. Hopefully get over the line the next day, get to semi-final. I know Cal is there, and Cal will be looking to do that. Like Cal will be saying, geez, get these younger lads another couple of years under the belt. And in 2 or 3 years' time, we are going to go right. We're going to go for an intermediate championship and get back up to senior when we're ready to stay up in senior. I know Joe Hessian is down there with them as well. They have a great backroom team there as well, and I'm sure they're. And I'm talking to a few of the lads down there the last couple of weeks. They're definitely aiming for these younger lads to step up to the plate in the next couple of years.
Just on that game, Kevin, who do you see winning it, Meath or Canberra?
Canberra. I've liked them all year.
So you think last year's finalists, Meath, will dump out the championship this weekend?
I do, yeah, I do. I just like Canberra. I like what they're about. Like that, I like the backroom team. I know Joe's involved as well. Joe Hessian, he's a lot of work done with county teams and with Turlough and Hanlon as well, a legend as well. But anytime you've kind of wheeling on your team, and I know it's not a one-man show, but he's in the top 3 hurlers in the country. Top 3 forwards in the country, no question about it. If I was 19 or 20 or even 18 after coming out of minor or whatever, and Conor Whelan was playing in my club, you'd be dying for the man. You'd do absolutely anything for him to impress him. If he was there training at 7 o'clock, I'd be there at 6:30. And I'm sure this is the way these guys are. Conor is such an unassuming guy. Doesn't say a lot, but does his actions on the field, and you can see it. You can just see Kinvara start to turn again. The tides are turning a bit, and I followed them as well in the football. We're in the under 1B final there as well, and they won the minor under 17 a couple of years ago. And sometimes it can be a distraction, but sometimes when you have a team that's not known for their code, which Kinvara have always been known for hurling, now they're playing football. They're quite very, very good at it. And a lot of these guys are on the dual code. They're on a buzz. They're on a press for wave. Win everything while they can. That's when it stops. It gets very lonely there. I just think Canberra are a team that are coming at the moment.
They're doing great work down there as well. They have the second pitch there. They're putting in an AstroTurf. They have a walkway in. They're massive fundraising going down. They're floodlighting the 2 pitches.
Yeah.
All that stuff will bring the club together. Do you know what I mean? Big fundraising.
Huge.
Just to finally finish, lads, just one question that came in from a follower. Anyone catch your eye so far in the club championship who hasn't been involved with Galway that you believe should get a call in?
Let me see. It's always a tough question, that one, because the group stages are so different to a quarter-final, semi-final, final stage. Someone could stand out in the group stage, but yet the intensity mightn't be there like it would be in a quarter-final, semi-final, final. You'd always hear of first round of the championship, someone could shoot the lights out and all of a sudden they should be straight into the county final, and what's Henry at not bringing them in? Like when you get to quarter-final, semi-final, final stage, and I know that's not fair to someone that's not in it, but at the same time, the intensity of those matches is when you need to stand up. So without ducking the question or anything like that, like there's always the case for lads that are there that maybe aren't getting the shot that deserve. Like I heard Jamie Ryan's name mentioned a good bit in the first 3 matches. How is he not getting the game with Henry? With Henry's team, but yet he's shooting the lights out in club hurling. You know what I mean? So, like, there's probably a few of the younger lads are right there. In all fairness, like Mark started off brilliant. Mark Kennedy for Clarinbridge, he's unbelievable in the first 2 games. I know he got sent off then, but like had a good few goals scored and all that. But like but yet he was gone from the panel early last year. So Josh Ryan was very good for Clarinbridge the last day. I know he's young and all that, like, but I know Henry probably looks at that because he had Gavin Lee in early when he was only young, so maybe he look at something like that. But like a lot of the main lads, a lot of the county lads are standing out playing very well at the minute.
Anyone for you, Kevin?
Johnny Glynn. Legend. I seen him the other day. I was filling the car and I could see this fella beeping. Hey, I said, "Hi, Johnny." He must have heard I gave him a G up on the podcast. But it's not just cutting across or letting Shocks answer or Lal answer my question, but he did. It's very, very hard. Or more, a couple of lovely hurlers coming through. A couple of young Burks there, very, very good hurlers. Now, I've always asked the question, how isn't Jamie Ryan not playing with Galway? I really and truly mean that. Like, he's a class act. He's main, he's speed, he's stick work, he has it all. Now, listen, Joyce and Kevin Lally and Henry and all these lads know an inside set up better, but like I prefer not to be giving these lads the likes of a league game where it's dirty, wet, slow ground. Like keep him in there for the league, but surely to God he's good enough for summer hurling with Galway, because no disrespect to any of the guys, but he's better than some of the guys that are out there at times. Going on club championship, and that's the truth of it. I've watched them closely. So to answer your question is no, I don't know anybody that should be there, but Jamie Ryan is probably the only one that stands out for me, Shocks.
Yeah, I think this weekend's going to tell a lot of players who put their hands up, but it's an intriguing weekend of action. There probably is going to be a few surprises along the way, but all the action takes place across Saturday and Sunday. We're in for a bumper weekend of hurling action, but that's all in our show. A massive thank you to the lads for coming on.
Cheers.
Thanks, boys.
Lovely stuff.